most people want to stay in a victim mentality because it's scary to take ownership. The stage of consciousness requires you to change a lot of your behaviors, to stop consuming a bunch of bad food and to cleanse your body, or to stop watching mainstream media and social media that is causing you to feel more depressed. I sat 2 times, Friday night, Saturday night, and by Sunday I was a very different person. And I felt as though I had experienced what I'd never been able to find through religion.
Cześć, nazywam się Ania Wędzikowska, a to jest mój podcast Ku Szczęściu. Jeśli podobają Ci się te treści, skomentuj, polub, zasubskrybuj, podziel się ze znajomymi. Niech szczęście płynie w świat. W tym odcinku moim gościem jest niezwykły człowiek, Adam ROA. Coach, trener zmiany, poeta, artysta na co dzień mieszkający w Los Angeles.
I saw this post today on your Instagram that really inspired me because it's pretty much the point where I'm at the moment, which is about how you turn growth into a game. How can it be done to finally make it a little bit less like to feel like work, to make it a little bit less painful, to sort of start playing with it? How can it be done?
Well, I think to make your growth a game requires looking at the mechanics of what makes a game in the first place, right? So one of the big ones is in a game, you can see progress. And I think in life, we often don't see progress quite as easily. Sometimes the journey of healing a wound or working on a certain aspect of ourselves can start to feel like it's not moving forward at all. And so finding ways in which we are recording and actually recognizing regularly our progress is one of the big elements. And then another huge one is the reward mechanism. Games reward you for your progress, or they reward you along the way. And I think that in personal development, we can often forget to celebrate our wins and celebrate the growth, because inevitably when one thing unlocks and we accomplish a goal or we heal some aspect of ourselves or we move through something, the next thing will reveal itself, and it's never ending in that constant cycle. And so those are the 2 biggest ones, I think, is just making sure that you're able to see the progress through, I don't know, journaling or keeping track in some way, and then making sure that you're celebrating and creating reward mechanisms for that growth.
When we go within, we often also isolate. At least in my case, that was the case. So, but it is very important to see the reflection of your growth and your change while interacting with people, to sort of interact with the people you used to know, because they're gonna notice how much you've grown, how much you've changed, but also how you can build relationships differently. But you have to sort of overcome the fear because relationships can be hurtful, right? So how do you keep your heart open in the world that constantly challenges us?
It's a very great question. I think that today's world has not shown that it knows how to treat the human heart as sacred. And I feel as though the caveat that I want to make here that I find very important is not everywhere is safe for you to share your heart.
Yep.
Not everywhere. It's not a good idea to necessarily share the most vulnerable parts of yourself in certain circles or circumstances. And I think that's okay. A lot of times in personal development, the message can be about just opening your heart and being as vulnerable and authentic as possible all the time. But discernment is huge. Discernment, boundaries, they're a huge part of what we need to learn how to develop and overcome and figure out how to hold for ourselves. And so the sort of starting point is just to make sure not everywhere is necessarily the space to be sharing the most vulnerable and intimate parts of yourself. And it's okay to reserve certain parts of yourself in certain situations. Now, with that said, that then leads us to, well, where are the places? Where are the spaces? Who are the people with which you can actually feel safe to share? And how do you find those places and those people, and you start to practice? And when you share with them and you start to see that it's okay, that builds confidence. And building that confidence is an important part of that journey, because oftentimes we grew up in families where it wasn't okay to get emotional or to tell our truth or be authentic. And so we start healing these wounds slowly. And then I think that the next piece to that is we also have to learn how to pick ourselves back up. Because if you have spaces that are safe for you to practice, and then you find yourself in a space that wasn't so safe, you get rejected, you get made fun of, you experience something difficult, knowing that you're okay and you know how to build yourself back up, that's key. You know that if you fall, you know how to heal your wounds, you know how to get back on your feet, you know how to nurture and nourish yourself again. These are all elements that you can learn. And once you've learned how to do those, then it gets a little less scary. I don't know that it ever gets easy, but it definitely gets less scary when you know that you're able to hold your own heart when other people don't hold it with you.
You know what sounds as the most tricky part is finding the balance between where and when to be open, when to put your boundaries up, when you should sort of protect yourself and unleash your anger, and when you should let go and just be okay with the fact. It's just so difficult and so tricky. And I find that this is the thing that's the most tricky for most people. Like, okay, there's the yin and the yang, and you need to have both. You need to be able to use both. But how do I know when to use which one, right?
Yeah, well, when you go into yin and yang and speak to sort of masculine, feminine energies and dynamics, that can get quite complicated because um, the use of one or the other is not clear cut. It's an ongoing, it's fluid, right? So if I'm encountering someone, male or female, if I'm encountering someone and they are in their yang energy, that doesn't mean I have to be in my yin energy. That they might be in their yang energy and I have to meet them with my own yang, my own fire to to accomplish whatever the intention is in the goal. Sometimes someone's in their yang, even if it's a female and they're in their yang, I know I need to bring my yin. I need to bring my softness to receive it. It's fluid, and that understanding is something that I think the more developed one can be in the practice of it is very useful. And when I say the practice, I mean the practice of our own yin and yang. So how comfortable are you with both of those energies? I know for a lot of men, for example, not many of them are comfortable in the yin. They can
Yep.
bring the fire, yang, action, but the softness, the stillness, the intuitive guidance, a lot of men really struggle with that.
I struggle with
And
that.
so, yeah, we live in a society that really rewards
Yeah.
the yang masculine energy. And so a lot of people struggle being in the yin, myself included at times. And so the more comfortable we are in being able to be in our yin and our yang, the better equipped we are in a moment of saying, okay, I need to be more yin. I need to be more yang. I know how to do that. It's an analogy that I often give is if you were going to play a sport like basketball, for example, well, if you're going to take the final shot with the game on the line to win it all, the whole championship, well, you don't want that to be the first time you've ever taken that shot.
Mm.
You want to have taken that shot thousands of times and feel just super comfortable doing it. Similarly, with yin and yang, everyone wants to know in the moment how to use the yin or the yang, when in reality, it's effective because we've developed it over time and we have proficiency in being able to use it as needed.
Adam, when was and what was your awakening? What happened and what sort of pushed you to transform, to wake up and to start looking at things differently?
Well, I had two major moments that I would say are awakening. One being knocked me off the path that I thought I was on, and one being where my spirituality emerged. So the first one was, believe it or not, at 18 years old, when in high school. So in American high school, you've probably seen it on the movies. In American high school, you have things like prom king,
Yep.
homecoming king and
Yep, yep.
queen, and it's like popularity contests and all these things. And when I was in high school, I started high school, I was very small. I didn't think I was cool at all. I was not popular. And I made it a point. I said, you know what? By the time I graduate, I'm going to win high school. If you can win high school, I'm going to win it. And so by the time I graduated, I had gotten an academic scholarship to college. I was National Honor Society and president of this club and varsity and all these different sports. And I actually also won Homecoming King, the big popularity contest with the crown and the whole thing. And I remember waking up the next morning and feeling completely empty because nothing had changed. I was still insecure. I was still had full of angst and uncertainty. And the difference was that I had no idea what was going to come next, because all of high school I'd been working towards this goal and I just achieved all of them, and it didn't satisfy me. I wasn't actually happy. And so that was the first time where it was an awakening moment where I said, everything they've been teaching me and telling me is not working. It's not true. Because the next thing you're supposed to do, at least in the US, is then you go to college and then you get your job and then you get married and you get a dog and then you have kids and then you have your house
the
and the whole thing.
house.
And I said, well, yeah,
And then you're keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Exactly. And you got to get the watch and the car and the whole thing. But they sell it like that's going to make you happy. And because I had hit a goal where all of the movies I'd grown up watching told me I should feel happy here, being one of the cool kids with all the success, and I wasn't, that was the moment where I said, okay, I think what they're selling me is a lie. And so that was the first awakening moment. And it was very helpful because a lot of the people that I coach over the last 12 years since I've become a coach, they have that experience of achieving success, but it didn't bring them what they thought it was going to bring them. And so usually people don't figure that out until they're 40 something or 50, you know? But I was able to experience that at 18, and that was very helpful. So that was my first moment. And my second moment came because in 2012, I had the most challenging year of my whole life. I had my finances go to a complete zero. I had car accidents and I needed surgery. My career as an actor in Los Angeles went through some really rough patches. And purely out of desperation, in January of 2013, I wound up in an ayahuasca circle for plant medicine. For people who are not familiar, it's a a vine that grows in South America and you drink it with a shaman. And this was my first experience of any sort of plant medicine shamanically like that. And I sat 2 times, Friday night, Saturday night, and by Sunday I was a very different person. And I felt as though I had experienced what I'd never been able to find through religion. I'd never found my connection to God or spirit or the universe, whatever the word is. I'd never felt that from religion, even though I was raised Catholic. And I found it that weekend. I felt a connection to everything. I felt a connection to love more deeply than I'd ever felt in my life. And from that moment on, I said, okay, I believe that there's something here. I believe spirituality, there's something here. How do I do it? How do I become good at spirituality? How do I learn spirituality? And I became obsessed with it. I became someone who read all the books and listened to all the podcasts and watched all the YouTube videos and hired coaches and went on retreats. And I became a student because I'm 40 years old now. And I was 28 at the time. And I don't know, when you find something that unlocks an entirely new reality, I was so excited. I was excited to learn as much as I possibly could. And from that moment on, it combined everything I'd been learning about myself and personal development. It combined it with spirituality. And to me, that was a missing piece, to have this energy of something bigger than myself that breathes my lungs and that beats my heart. And to be connected to that felt like a huge missing piece that I had finally found.
Do you feel like the effects of it stayed with you, or is it something that wears off, or is did this experience sort of change you forever?
Well, the short answer is it changed me forever.
Uh-huh.
A more in-depth answer is that there's states of consciousness and there are stages of consciousness. So we can have these moments where we achieve high states of consciousness and we feel connected to everything and enlightened and whatever it might look like. But stages are where we actually land for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the landing on a stage is the training ground where we need to develop and integrate. This is the part of integration, which people are hearing a lot more of that word now, where when I experience God or the universe and I feel spiritually connected, it's not that I'm going to stay there forever. It's, hey, this is possible. This is a state that you can feel and experience. In order to get there and stay there more consistently, you have to increase your stage. And the stage that I was at that time, as an example, was I needed to start meditating and just create that connection to myself. I needed to start journaling and starting to create a deeper ability to look inside of myself and observe my own behaviors. Because one of the things that's often talked about in advancing stages of consciousness is more and more ability to remove yourself and see it objectively and see yourself more clearly and see what's going on more clearly without getting caught up in the minutia of it. So sometimes the stage of consciousness requires you to change a lot of your behaviors, to stop consuming a bunch of bad food and to cleanse your body, or to stop watching mainstream media and social media that is causing you to feel more depressed. And other times it looks like, hey, you're in a stage where you need to cut out toxic people from your life and you need to take big risks to start moving towards your goal. Depending on where you're at, there's going to be different things that you need to do in order to integrate. But once you've integrated them, meaning once you've made these choices consistently over time, they will become second nature. They will become embodied. And once you've embodied those changes, you will now be able to sustain that elevated stage of consciousness, and that will open you up to experience a state even higher than you'd previously experienced before. And that to me is the difference between states and stages, and this constant stretching and then returning and stretching and returning. Just like when we stretch our body, it might be hard, but if we keep doing that stretch every single day, it'll get easier, but then we'll still be able to stretch further, and that will be hard.
Yeah. Having said that, a lot of people start from the very sort of victim mentality. What would you say are the key concepts that would allow people to move from the victim mentality, from thinking this has been done to me and my childhood and the people around me and my ex-partner, whatever, to the creator's mentality, to take the responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, the place where you're at, because this gives you sort of the sense of freedom and power to move wherever you want to go.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the answer is actually in your question and what you said, which is most people want to stay in a victim mentality because it's scary to take ownership. It's scary to take ownership. When you say, I am creating my reality, I am responsible for the life that I am leading and what I get to experience on a day-to-day. The moment that you say, I'm creating it, then you no longer are able to
point
pretend
fingers
that it's not your responsibility. Yeah. And so you go, wow, I created that last breakup. I created that wound or that trauma. I created the person in my life who made me a victim for a moment. Because you can be victimized in a moment, but that's very different than carrying a victim consciousness. And the easiest shift, the way to do that practically, is you move from this life is happening to me, and you shift into this life is happening for me. And so
I discover,
practice,
so I see, so I suffer enough to open some spaces within me. It's like a guidance.
yeah, and just I would just encourage people to journal or ask that question and meditate on that question. When something difficult happens that you wish didn't happen, you just simply say, how is this happening for me? How is this happening for me? Wow, I'm going through a really challenging breakup. How is this happening for me? Wow, I just got fired from my job. How is this happening for me? Wow, I just launched a new business and it didn't work. How is this happening for me? I just got diagnosed with this illness. How is this happening for me? And the thing is that as we start to explore that as an experiment, in the beginning, it can be very hard. It can be incredibly challenging to see how your illness or your breakup is happening for you because there's so much emotion involved. But the more that we do it as an exercise, the more that we train ourselves to look at situations that way, the easier it becomes. And the more that we start to see the ways in which the universe is working for us, well, then when bad things happen, when difficult, challenging experiences happen, we can more quickly shift into how's it happening for me.
Yeah.
And the quicker we get into that mindset, the sooner we can use the energy like a flowing river to help us get to where we want to go.
Very naturally, you moved towards my next question. You talk so beautifully about trust and about the act of surrender. It is very hard for people to even imagine the act of surrender if they feel like control or the illusion of control is the only thing that keeps them safe. How to practice that in order to get better in surrendering to the divine, the source of life, the whatever we believe there is.
Yeah, I think two points to what make that easier. One is just accepting that you can't control this life. And so there's a general level of understanding that every day that you wake up, you're going to experience things that you didn't expect, that you didn't design, that you didn't control. You do not control when you're going to leave this planet. It could happen today, tomorrow, or 150 years from now. So there are some things that will always be out of your immediate control. And by accepting that there are some things that are out of your immediate control, it becomes easier to just relax into, okay, I can't control everything. That's a belief that's important to have. Then once you accept that, I don't control everything, the next mindset shift that I find very helpful is to say that the act of surrender is not an act of giving up. It's not passive. To surrender is actually an action of trusting. So when you surrender, you are trusting in something you cannot see. When I say I surrender it to God, what I'm saying is I trust you, God. I surrender it to the universe. I trust you, universe. I surrender to whatever is going to happen. I trust what is going to happen. And so for some people who really need it to be, when I see people struggle, it's often because they want it, they need the action. They don't want it to be passive. They want to see that it's an empowered choice. And it takes a lot of courage. So to me, I rephrase surrender and reframe it as this is an act of courage. It's an act of trust. And when you can see it that way, in some ways you do have control because you are choosing to trust. You're not just giving up.
How does the experience of love and romantic relationships, connection, changes in a world of people that are mature, responsible for their own emotions and their own internal states? How does the mature love look like?
Wow. So I'll use the word a conscious relationship, to be in conscious relationship. And what that means to me requires an understanding of what are we saying with conscious versus unconscious. Conscious is just something that we are able to bring into awareness, and unconscious are all the things that are not in our awareness. We're not aware of them. And to be in a conscious relationship means to consistently want to bring what is unconscious into conscious. And so to be in conscious relationship with my partner means, hey, I'm committed to, when I see unconscious aspects of you or me and I can see them, I bring them into awareness. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm noticing. And I want the same thing from her, which is if you see something unconscious happening here, or if you find out something that's unconsciously been happening inside of you, let's bring it to the conscious. Because what we're doing by going through that process is we're expanding what lies in our sphere of awareness. And our sphere of awareness is our consciousness. And therefore, we are now in a union where together we are expanding our consciousness. And to me, that is why we're here. That is why we were created, is to expand our consciousness through experiences and dialogues and questions and senses and all of the things that come with being human. And so fundamentally, that's what it means to me to be in a conscious relationship. And to be in a mature relationship would be one in which we understand how to hold each other's immature parts.
Oh, that's so
So,
beautiful.
right? Which is, when you think about it, if you have an adult and a bunch of kids in a room, it's not that the kids are not allowed to be immature. The
Yeah.
adult is the mature one because you assume they know how to be with the immaturity,
Yeah.
not because they're forcing everyone else to be mature. And so, similarly, to be in a mature relationship is going, hey, I'm going to hold your immature parts in a mature way, and you're going to hold mine in a mature way, which we could go into all the different aspects of what that means. But that's probably the simplest way that I could describe a mature relationship.
I love it. I love it. It's going into my toolbox, into my like a box of quotes. So the
Yeah, I've never said that before. Now I'm gonna post it on my Instagram. It's a good one.
See, I get
I'll
that.
write I'll write
I
I'll write a new I'll
I
write a newsletter.
squeeze good stuff out of people. Oof.
Thank you so much. It'll be my next newsletter I send out as an email. It's a good one to flesh out more.
Do you really believe that every man is sort of built to fulfill needs and wants of a woman? You said something like that on your Instagram, that it's sort of built into male DNA.
Well, I don't know if it's man and woman so much as masculine, feminine,
Right, right, right.
like yin, yang, alpha, omega.
Because you said in that role that you've never met a guy who wouldn't want that, and then I thought maybe like a feminine guy wouldn't be wanting to like yeah.
Yeah, and so it's more masculine, feminine, but generally when talking about this, I just say most like most males are going to be predominantly masculine energy,
Yeah.
and most females are going to be
Mm.
predominantly feminine energy, but it's a spectrum. So you
Yep.
can have a man that's 90% masculine and 10% feminine connected, and then you could have a man that's 50-50 or even less. So I think that that's an important piece because someone who's just in a male body may not relate to it in the same way. But what I will say is that the energetics themselves, the masculine is designed to meet the desires of the feminine.
Mm.
And so typically, if you have men that are predominantly in their masculine energy, if there is a woman in her feminine that they, especially if they are in love with that woman and she says, I really want blank, I desire to feel or I desire to see, it will activate
Mm.
that man. And their first instinct will be, I want to, but it will also activate the fear that they won't know how or that they'll fail or that they're not capable. And so often what happens is that men get triggered. Their insecurities and their fears and their doubts get activated. And because they don't know how to be with that, or because they don't even know that it's happening, they'll often project that onto the woman and basically shame her for wanting so much, shame her for demanding so much, for being ungrateful,
Mm.
for blah, blah, blah. And I think when as a man, I can understand that the only reason I'm even feeling triggered 99% of the time is because I'm worried that I can't give it, or
Mm.
it means I'm not enough. If she says, I want more intimacy, and I'm going, can I give more? I don't even know how to do that. And then what a masculine energy will often do is fight.
Yeah.
When we think about fight, flight, or freeze, that masculine energy can be in a fight mode, and that can look like getting very defensive or projecting.
Oh wow. What would you say to people that now at this moment are suffering, like they're in a crisis? What would you tell them to sort of make it easier, a little bit easier?
Well, I think depends on, I don't want to give a, it feels almost really patronizing to just say something like this too shall pass, right? That um, while it may be true, being in a crisis, being in a breakdown, being in a period of time where it feels as though you're barely hanging on is so difficult. And so the first thing that I would say to anyone watching, listening, that is going through that is that I'm sorry. My heart goes out to you. I think that most people suffer in silence, and it almost at times feels far worse to be living in pain and suffering and feeling like no one even cares. No one knows. It's just you alone. And so as someone who's navigated suicidal depression in my life and been at some very low moments, the first words are just letting people know that you're not alone. I hear you, I see you, I feel you. And my second is that you have the ability to change it.
Yeah.
You have the ability to change it. And I think that, again, for some people, they'll hear that and they'll get very defensive. Well, I didn't choose this, and I didn't choose this, and I didn't choose this, which comes back to our earlier point. If you decide that you don't choose it, then you also remove the power to change it. If you've said that these things are happening to me and I have no control over it, then as you work to change it, you always in the back of your mind have the doubts and say, well, I didn't choose this, so it could never work, or it could just stay this way, or whatever. But as you say, I created this reality, what you do by taking that ownership is say, that means I have the potential to create a different one. And everyone will need to go on a different journey to make that happen. Some people are dealing with health challenges. Some people are dealing with relationship challenges. Some people are dealing with financial challenges. So your next steps might look different than other people. But I don't know a single person who got themselves out of crisis while staying in victimhood. The common denominator is to say, I created this and therefore I can change it.
Because no one else is coming to save you, right? No
Yeah,
one's
and
coming.
honestly, if someone came and saved you, but you didn't change or learn the lessons, the universe would just give you the same breakdowns in a different way, because you're here to learn the lessons and grow and evolve. That's why you're here. And so lean into what it is you're meant to learn. The health challenges are where you learn how to heal yourself, and therefore you can go and learn how to help others.
Yeah.
The relationship challenges are where you learn how to own your boundaries and increase your level of self-worth and self-love, so that you are now a better example for your future kids. The financial challenges are where you learn the skill set to build a business that you're actually enjoying and no longer working a job that you hate. There are so many ways in which the challenges we go through become our gifts, but not unless we're willing to own them and change them.
Very excited for December. You're going to join us for the Life Balance Congress. What can we expect from you?
The unexpected.
I was going to ask, are you going to improvise?
No, I won't improvise. But what you can expect is I will bring some of my poetry. So I find that art is the highest leverage way that we can actually shift consciousness. So when I'm up on the stage, it will not simply be me teaching or lecturing. I will also be sharing art, and I will be sharing my heart through that expression. I will be creating an opportunity for those in attendance to tap into that for themselves, and tap into their artistic nature and their creative nature. So many people don't do that regularly. And so I have a process that I can take people through that will help them tap into their own creativity, their own art. And I will also bring a lot more of what we're talking about here, and actionable, tangible takeaways. It's fun for me to bring the conceptual. A lot of what we've discussed today can be very conceptual, but now how do we apply that to our lives? Because if we don't know how to take it and apply it,
Yep.
it's very hard to change.
Yep.
And so to me, I always want to get people deep in their hearts, but also practically tell them how to apply it so that they can see something shift in their lives.
Is it gonna be your first time in Poland?
Yes, it'll be my first time ever in Poland. I've never been.
Very excited. Very. Okay.
I'm very excited. It's going to be cold.
I
It's gonna
am
be cold,
excited.
right?
Yes, it's gonna be cold. It's December, but it's gonna be Christmassy already. So the atmosphere at least is gonna be really nice. Hopefully, Christmas market,
Got it.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm actually where I'm staying right now. My friend's place is from Poland as well, so I'm already soaking in the energy. I'm excited to go, and I'll make sure to bring some jackets. I love getting to pull out my jackets. Normally, I'm in very hot places. It's very hot
Scarf,
where I travel.
scarf, gloves, everything, all gear.
Really? It's
Yeah.
that cold? It's like
Yeah.
going on a ski trip.
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you
Well,
very much.
I'll become prepared.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited for the Life Balance Congress.